why am I even listening to begin with? You're a virgin who can't drive.
I mean, it's not funny.
But I mean, it does beg the question, what has gone wrong with young Hollywood? Honest to God, what is the problem?
Juicy sweatsuits, doing lines in the restroom. All y'all dressed to impress who? 20-something trust issues, girl. Insecure.
Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Les Do You Remember This, where we look back on all the stories from Hollywood's best-worst decade, the early 2000s, a time in history when America found out that with a trust fund, a sex tape, and a dream, you too could become a star. As always, I'm your host, Dara Lane, and today we'll be talking about celebrities who took the Purity Pledge. In many episodes of this podcast, we recount the sexcapades of early 2000s starlets. This decade was the best of times and the worst of times in regards to sex positivity. The media both rewarded and shamed sexuality simultaneously. Having a sex tape could get you legitimately famous and rich, but you'd have to take never-ending ridicule. Conversely, if you built your stardom on a platform of purity, you had to tap dance just up to the line of being sexy enough to engage the public, but not too sexy where they'd rally against you for being a bad role model. Trying to navigate this territory must have been difficult for the lady celebrities coming of age during this time, but it was also confusing for the young women and men growing up and witnessing it. Natalie Portman articulated this in an interview with USA Today in 2018, saying, quote, "I remember being a teenager, and there was Jessica Simpson on the cover of a magazine saying, 'I'm a virgin,' while wearing a bikini, and I was confused, like, I don't know, what is this trying to tell me? As a woman, as a girl." That's my Natalie Portman as Jackie Onassis voice, and yes, I am a Jackie 2017 Best Actress nomination truther. I like Emma Stone, but that award was Natalie's. Her accent wasn't stupid, it was a choice. Okay, I actually just steamrolled right over my segue to the next part of this episode, but some things need to be said. So Natalie was talking about Jessica Simpson wearing a bikini, but saying she was a virgin. It was confusing. Here comes the segue. That brings us to our first virginal celebrity, Jessica Simpson. Poor Jessica, of course, misconstrued Natalie's words as being a slam against her, though Natalie was only speaking to the media's habit of sending mixed messages to people. But you can't blame Jessica for taking it personally. She was one of the main celebrities to declare that she would stay a virgin until marriage, and the scrutiny that she was under after that was probably, dare I say, traumatic. I find it rather humiliating and dehumanizing for the press to be constantly speculating about one's sex life or lack thereof, especially when you're in your teens and early 20s and don't know your ass from your elbow, sexually speaking. She was a major part of the abstinence craze and one of the very few who allegedly made it all the way without going all the way. Like most of the other celebs who publicly declared they'd stay a virgin until marriage, Jessica Simpson grew up in a religious family. She started off trying to become a Christian singer, but then she broke into the mainstream and started dating Nick Lachey. Here's Jessica talking about her relationship with Nick on the Craig Kilborn show.
How long have you guys been dating?
Well, we've been together for 4 years, but we kind of took a little break for like 4 months last year.
Well, why did you take a break?
It was my fault. No, it was one of those things where I was like, I have to grow up and experience things and date.
Yeah. You wanted to date other people or what?
Well, I thought I did, but then I tried it and I hated it.
You hated it? You ran back to Nick? So what was so bad about dating these other guys? Were they losers? Were they other singers?
Well, they all lie and, you know, try to do things that you don't want to do.
I'm listening. Tell me.
No, it's hard to find guys who really respect you.
These aren't quality people like Nick.
Right, they just kind of, well, it's weird, like, trying to date after people know who you are, you know? Like, I really feel bad for people like Britney Spears and everything that she's going through right now, because how does she go out and date? Like, everybody knows everything about her.
Every move she makes is reported on.
So I think that's what's been great about Nick and I, is that we knew each other before everything happened,
So you came back together, and you are quite the conservative lady, aren't you? And you're comfortable talking about this.
I'm a conservative lady?
Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
My understanding is these other singers, they dress provocatively and stuff, and you're mainly going with your voice, and you dress conservatively, but you're also, aren't you saying? Didn't you say chastity? Didn't you say you'd save yourself for your husband, which I think is great? Is that true?
Yeah, it's true.
Come on, what? That's wonderful.
You know what's so funny about it is that, like, a magazine asked me, you know? They just asked me about it, and I just told them that I was a virgin, and then all of a sudden it was like this huge thing that, like, I was saving myself for my husband. And really, it just was always something that was just a part of me and my life. And I was shocked that it was, like, on the cover of newspapers and magazines, and that it was such a big deal.
So that's great. I think that's wonderful. We don't get that enough out here in Hollywood, or probably anywhere.
Yeah, well, Nick and I have been together for 4 years, so I think it's about time that we get married and experience it.
I think Nick is a very patient man. Tell me, how did Nick propose?
4 years. Oof. Boy, I mean, Craig Kilborn is being a #1 skis here, but like, yeah, 4 years. Nick was 30 when they got married, and he wasn't that religious or I think a virgin when they got together. Sorry, does that not sound entirely fishy to you? I can buy that a 23-year-old Jessica could hold out, but Nick Lachey? Nah, baby, I don't buy it. Also, Jessica talks about a major problem with preaching abstinence. Kids getting married prematurely because they want to get it in. If you legitimately believe that sex before marriage is a sin, those are some pretty high stakes for waiting. And I think it probably makes a lot of people get married to someone that isn't right for them because they're so horny and desperate for what will end up being mediocre missionary sex. Jessica married Nick, who, by the looks of their reality show, barely liked Jessica, and then they divorced. What's a once abstinent single girl supposed to do after getting a divorce? You can't put that cat back in the bag. You've already got the divorce under your belt, so you might as well enjoy yourself. And you know what I say? Good for her. I'm glad she got to experience some other men before getting married again. It's just a shame she had to date John Mayer because of course he would further expose her sex life without her permission. He once said about their 2006 to 2007 relationship, quote, "That girl, for me, is a drug. And drugs aren't good for you if you do lots of them. Yeah, that girl is like crack cocaine to me. Sexually, it was crazy. That's all I'll say. It was like napalm. Sexual napalm." Ugh. It's like, of course it's a compliment to be called sexual napalm, but coming from John Mayer, it just doesn't feel that way. Our next virgin, Britney Spears, declared her virginity early in her career, but regretted doing so pretty soon after. Here she is talking to Oprah.
Well, in your new movie, Crossroads, Lucy loses her virginity, okay? And you've talked so openly about saving your own virginity until marriage. So was that difficult for you to do? Was that the...
Well, I just
know
that...
Did you just put yourself in the character's place?
Yeah, definitely. I just know that teenagers go through that all the time.
Right,
and
because she's in high school.
Yeah. So, so I wanted to play her and make sure teenagers out there, you know, saw that and didn't feel alone and that...
Do you wish you'd never said anything about the virginity thing because it's going to follow you to wedding night?
I kind of wish, I kind of do, because when I go overseas, you know, they'll ask you questions about it, and it's just something that's there, and you can't help it, you know. But, no, I'm going to try. I'm going to try to stick to what I said and see, you know.
And do you think it's anybody's business if you do or don't? You say, because you're going to try. So does that mean, like, if you decide not to...
No, it's for me, you know.
Yeah, I think it's for you to decide.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You don't need a world announcement if you change your mind. And I'm here to tell you, you have the right to change your mind if you want to change your mind, okay?
Britney and Jessica have similar stories. After announcing that they would stay virgins, they both ended up in relationships with boy banders that they thought would last forever. But that Justin Timberdick proved too enticing, and she later admitted losing her virginity to him, but only because she thought she would be with him forever. Back in the early aughts, that was the big loophole when it came to losing your virginity. Here's Britney explaining this to Diane Sawyer.
If you're talking to your little sister now, and the girl who said that she was going to stay a virgin till she got married. Do you still think there's something to be said for that?
I think, honestly, if you can wait till you're married, I think you should definitely do that because it's so much more sacred. And there is a reason for saying to do that. There is a rule in the book, the Bible, that says that. I think that is a really important thing to do. But I think in reality, if you really know in your hearts of heart that you are going to be with that person forever, and you really think that with all of your heart, and you're in 4 or 5 years into the relationship, I mean, stuff can
Classic
happen.
Britney, as a magazine said, a kind of puzzle under all those shifting images, playing innocent, and then playing the shock for all it's worth.
But is this as far as you're going to go? Because I remember reading once you said, I'm not going to do that Madonna thing and try to shock everybody.
Never say never. A song that's called Touch of My Hand. That's talking about you with yourself, which is a little much. But it's a reality that we have. And yeah, okay.
The small of my back, the arch of my feet. Lately I've been noticing how beautiful me.
But I mean, do you get to have it both ways? You know, I'm not that innocent. Or are you that innocent?
I think we all have sides to us. I think that, yes, I can relate to that song, and, like, we all can. You'd be lying if you said you couldn't, but there is a, I mean, it's not something you openly talk about with a lot of people. It's something sacred, and it's something I wanted to write about, so.
Sacred?
No, the song, Touch of My Hand, talking about indulging in yourself.
And that's sacred?
It is sacred to me, but in a way, exploiting it. Okay, I'm confusing myself right now.
I'm just going to lean back here and just...
Okay, what's the question again? Go ahead.
I don't remember the question.
I don't either.
You said that your album...
Ugh, screw off, Diane Sawyer. Just let the girl masturbate in peace. Poor Britney. She was a part of the Disney machine that used her virginal image to make money. The same thing would happen to a new generation of Disney stars that came after Britney. Around the mid-2000s, a movement that had been around since the 90s began to gain steam. A Christian organization called True Love Waits somehow got a foothold in young Hollywood, probably as a backlash to people like Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian becoming famous. Now not only were teen stars declaring in offhanded remarks that they wanted to stay chaste until marriage, they were taking a pledge and wearing a purity ring to remind them of their promise. The pledge went a little something like this. Believing that true love waits, I make a commitment to God, myself, those I date, my future mate, and my future children to be sexually pure from today until the day I enter a covenant of marriage. Miley Cyrus was, of course, one of these stars. Here she is in a red carpet interview.
I am living my life the way that I think should be lived, and that's staying pure. So you really believe in no sex before marriage? No, I don't at all.
But pretty quickly, Miley started to get antsy. When she was 15 in 2008 and was looking to shed her Disney image, she posed for Vanity Fair wearing only a sheet. Everybody was pissed. People called for an apology from Miley and Annie Leibovitz, who shot the photos. Other notable virgins include Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez. Here they are in 2008 in what they called a vlog/podcast, making them low-key pioneers of the industry. Marc Maron, who?
Alika wants to know, do you have a purity ring? I do. She wants to know if that's my purity ring. Yes, it is. And another person asked what it says. It says that true love waits. Yes, and I have a necklace that says true love waits, too. We're big believers in that. And Smurfy.
Selena took off her purity ring in 2015 after she started dating Justin Bieber. As for Demi, she dated Wilmer Valderrama, and you know that guy has a fishbowl full of young women's purity rings on display in his bedroom. But it was Demi's Camp Rock co-stars, the Jonas Brothers, who got the most unwanted attention because of their pledge to be pure. I can only imagine it's because they're boys. The media and society at large praised women for being virgins. Craig Kilborn tells Jessica Simpson in the earlier clip that we don't get that enough out here in liberal Hollywood. No one ever accused Jessica or Britney of being weird or prudish for saying they'd stay virgins until marriage. But people, especially men, looked at the Jonas Brothers as being lame and effeminate for saying they were staying chaste. Meanwhile, the boys were only teenagers. Here they are talking to Barbara Walters in the beginning of their career.
I know you don't like to talk about it, but when you watch your concert, everybody can see that you're wearing a silver band. Each of you do wear it. It signifies your values. Can you tell us what symbolically wearing the so-called purity ring means?
Yeah, for us it means that we'll treat ladies with respect and I think just to be gentlemen and to do our best to make our mom proud.
You know, when you see these young girls, and some of them aren't that young, I don't know, how do you resist temptation? I mean, there they all are for each of you. And each of them has a favorite. Isn't it hard?
Of course. It's hard doing that, for sure. I think what we do is we do have such a family base, you know. We end up going back on the tour bus or the plane with Mom every night.
Okay, so now I have to ask
The boys were also made fun of on an episode of South Park, and Russell Brand eviscerated them when he hosted the 2008 MTV Video Music Awards.
In case you are unaware, each of the Jonas Brothers does wear a tiny ring as a mark of their commitment to God. I'd take it a little bit more seriously if they wore it on their genitals.
You should see their little faces while he's saying that. They were just kids and they looked totally humiliated. Well, a one Miss Jordan Sparks would not stand for such treatment of a fellow virgin. When she got up to present an award with John Legend, she had this to say.
It's not bad to wear a promise ring because not everybody, guy or girl, wants to be a slut. All right, so anyway, Jordan Sparks.
Not the best delivery. Especially because, what's a slut? There's no number of sexual partners that delineates between just a sexually active person and a slut. And why is there a name for someone who hasn't had sex? It's all just a social construct, baby. This is the patriarchy, and we're just living in it. So in 2019, the year of our Lord, I suggest we all take a new pledge. Because I believe that true lust waits, either through the end of my first drink at a bar or up until my wedding night. I declare, from this day on, I will stay pure until I don't feel like it anymore. I make this pledge on behalf of myself, but definitely not my family or hypothetical future children, because my sexual history is none of their business. I baptize you all now with big slut energy. BSE is not correlated to a number of sexual partners or lack thereof. It is a state of being. One with BSE is imbued with the divine goddess energy to go forth and do whatever the fuck they want.
It's time to take the word back. Slut is now a compliment. A sexy ass female who running shit and confident.
Lady, Do You Remember This is researched, written, narrated, and edited by me, Dara Lane. If you aren't already, please subscribe on iTunes or Spotify and leave a rating and review. You can follow updates on the pod on Instagram and Facebook. And please, if you like the podcast, share it. Tell your friends. It's true what they say. It takes a village to make me famous. If you have any questions, comments, or show suggestions, please email laydooyourememberthis@gmail.com. So you're invited to come back next week. We've got a table, and I've put you on the list for Lay Do You Remember This.